Okay, welcome everybody. Hello there. Welcome to today's webinar. So super cool for everybody who have joined us today. We have people from all over the world. Thank you all for, and I really appreciate it. We've already asked a few of you to maybe let us know where you're from. If for anybody who's just came in there, just just drop it in the Q&A. Just let me know, those who joined later, where you're from. We've got Margaret's kid as well in the house. Welcome. You were this. Okay, you know what? We're not going to talk about that. Let's just crack on what we got. All right. So, as I said, just a quick little intro for me. My name is Siraaj. I am from South Africa. For those who don't know, I'm a former creative director, design director, and now I'm doing creative coaching, which is why we started that. And I'm joined here with Szonja Zsiros, who is an ex-recruiter, and she will do a whole introduction of herself later on. But just to say to everybody, this is the team who's going to be presenting today. The presentation should take about just over an hour. We try to keep it under an hour, just so that we could obviously be mindful of people's time. But we will have a Q&A session for those who are still able to stick around at the end. We'll also got some stuff, some giveaways and that kind of things that you might want to stick around with for the end of the presentation. So without further ado, let's keep going. So yeah, as I mentioned, I've been working in the creative industry for almost over 20 years, and in that 20 years, 12 of those years have been spent as a hiring manager, and in that time, I've hired 25 plus people, and I've looked at a bazillion portfolios. So that was kind of like the reason why I also thought this could be super helpful for people. I've worked in a few countries. South Africa, the Middle East. Middle East is not a country, but let's say the United Arab Emirates, and now in the Netherlands, where I reside with my family, my wife and my two kids. I've worked at agency side and at in-house. And for the students, or for those who don't know what in-house is basically a company that has a creative team inside their offices. So they're not necessarily an ad agency, but they've got the creative services within the company. And I've worked in that, and I've worked in scale-ups and startups. So I get a really great breadth of experience, and so with that, I'm hoping I can share all of those things with you guys. If I had a superpower, it would be storytelling. If I had a weakness, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's ice skating. I, for the love of me, cannot do this. It's just not my vibe. So luckily for all of us, this is not a webinar about ice skating or anything like that. This is going to be about portfolios and resumes. So before we even kick off, I have a question. Both myself and Szonja has been thinking about a question that we could ask you guys is, what do you struggle with the most, right? So you don't have to answer that just yet. I want you to keep in mind that question as we go through this presentation. And at the end, if you still think you're still struggling with those questions, then we can talk about it, right? So this is just the idea. Keep this question in your mind, and we can pick it up later. So to get started, right? As we know, right, the world has changed rapidly over the last couple of years, right? There's so many changes happening within technology, with a new amount of products that are being developed, the services that we get. So it's always, for me, what's always been really cool is that for anybody to survive within this new kind of like rapidly changing world, creativity for me has always been one of the things where I always found that we can thrive, because creativity is an in-demand skill. So it doesn't matter if you are a print designer, whatever, creativity will always be in demand. So with that kind of like in mind, just keep in mind when you're looking at all the different creative roles that's out there, I've kind of like categorized it in these 4 groups, which is creative direction, and that's creative direction is generally like your leadership roles, and that's like head of design, your creative director, for example. You have a design lead. So all of these kind of roles within the kind of design leadership roles, That's what you'll find in creative directions. Content creation. I mean, content creation is a massive breadth of careers you can do. You can be a visual designer, you can be a web designer, UX designer, you can be a producer, you can be an animator, you can be a motion designer. So the sky's the limit. I just put it under content creation. Then of course you have strategy, and that's the more right brain, left brain kind of situation. And of course, quite recently in the last 10 years, we've seen a significant number of social media managers who are also being creative, who are also doing posts. So if there's any creative social media managers out there, this is also for you. So, we're not leaving you all behind there. The good news, right? So let's start with the good news. Creative and literacy skills will be among the top 10 required skills within the workforce, and this comes from the World Economic Forum. So for me, that again bodes really, really well for us. And also, creative thinking and problem solving will be the number one most valued skill in future workplaces. So you know what, you guys are in the right place. And that comes from The Economist. But so there's good news, but the problem with that, or at least the challenge with that, is because so creative skills are in such demand, you also have so many students out there, so many people coming into the job market, which if you are a recruiter, or let's say a hiring manager, makes it almost impossible to manage the amount of applications that are coming in. On average, a recruiter could look at anything up from 50 to 100 applications a day. So if you think about 100 applications a day, there's 8 hours in a day. You literally have to spend 4 hours of that time just looking at portfolios. Well, I tell you guys, ain't nobody got time for that, okay? Nobody's got time for that. So if I'm a hiring manager and I've got to look at 100 applications a day, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to scan your resume, and another 90 seconds, maybe two minutes, you're going to get for me to scan your portfolio. So you can already see you're already at a disadvantage. But don't worry, that's why we are here, people. So how do we get our attention? That's what this whole presentation is about. We're going to, myself and Szonja, I'll promise to you at the end of this presentation, you will know how to craft a resume that recruiters and people like myself cannot ignore. And on top of that, what I'm going to bring is going to show you a couple of pro tips in terms of how you can level up your portfolio game. Yeah. And hopefully we can all do this within the allocated time. Can I get a hell yeah? Hell yeah. All right. This is not this. So without further ado,
you're already having too much fun with this.
Without further ado, let me bring up Szonja for you. Szonja, take it away. I'll be driving.
Boom. Can I please get the next slide? There we go. Love that. Cool. So ladies and gentlemen, and of course everyone in between, thank you so much, first of all, for joining our webinar with Mr. Siraaj and for trusting us to lead you through the process of creating a killer CV and crafting a fantastic portfolio. So thank you for being here. Quick intro of myself. I formerly worked in recruitment for 5 years. In that period of time, I was lucky enough to hire more than 250 absolutely fantastic and iconic professionals, out of which more than 250, of course, I hired, countless creative professionals just like yourself. And of course, in the past couple of years, I've been working as a career advisor and career coach, and I've been privileged and blessed to be able to help more than 200 job seekers with finding a job that they absolutely love. And that's also what's going to happen to you because you're here attending this webinar. Now, besides that, I've also been supporting job seekers with building their personal brand. So that's all the good stuff that kicks in when you think about CV, LinkedIn, but also interviewing, portfolio, website, all that stuff. And maybe even most importantly, I've been supporting job seekers with regaining their confidence, which is a handy skill when it comes to applying for jobs, needless to say, but also generally speaking in life, of course. My superpower is asking why. That is something I'm certainly guilty of. If I'm not asking the question why, then I'm probably asking another version of it, such as, oh, what makes you say that? So that's also what I'm going to be doing in the rest of the webinar. So just so prepare yourself. And my kryptonite is improvising. It never ceases to amaze me how badly I suck at improvising. Still, I've been doing these webinars and workshops for years, but yeah, improvising is just not something that I can pick up. So yeah, don't be fooled if you think that, damn, those two are slaying the webinar, then which is probably and hopefully going to be the case. It's all practiced. All right, let's crack on. Boom. Next slide. There we go. Your resume. So what I wanted to do with you all today is I wanted to show this example resume and dissect it with you all. So like we're going to go and analyze certain parts, certain bits of this resume together. So this is the bit where you get to unmute your mic and make yourself very active in the chat. So the first and most important part of the resume is the summary/profile section. My very first question is the following. What do you all think? Why is the resume, why is the summary or profile section is so important in the resume? What difference does it make? Also, I'm very comfortable with silence, so I'm okay with just waiting. What do you think? Summary profile section on the resume. Why do we like that? Why do we want to have that? Saves time for a recruiter because they can learn about you in that summary. Absolutely. Love that. Thank you for answering, Irina. Anyone else? All right. You're still in your shine zone. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. So as Irina very correctly mentioned it, indeed, that saves time for the recruiter. Also, this is a brilliant space for you to show a bit of your personality. More than that, you get to talk about your motivation, the driver, the thing that drives you. And this also allows you to highlight one of your key achievements or key accomplishments from the past that resonates with the role that you're targeting. Now, I know that creating a good summary/profile section is probably the most challenging bit of writing your CV. So later we'll dive deeper into how you can actually craft your very own summary. So don't worry if you still feel like, ooh, I have no idea how to make a good profile section, because later on we'll dive deeper. Can I get the next bullet point, please, Mr. Siraaj?
Most definitely. Let's go.
Love that. So the next bit I wanted to highlight for you all is to tailor your CV to the JD, which is short for job description. Now, the question goes out for you all. Why do you think you need to tailor your CV to the job description? And also, what the actual heck do I mean by tailoring the CV?
Indeed.
There are no wrong answers, guys. And
There
gals,
are no wrong.
and everyone in between. What do you think?
Yeah. Two-word answers can also do. Look, it absolutely goes better if you guys. Yeah, two-word answers can also work. You can also answer an emoji if that makes you feel better, you know?
Maybe it is to change your resume for every job description. So if you, the one job is another CV than the other.
Yeah, 100%. And we have the very first brave and courageous participant to speak up today, which I do appreciate. Thank you for that, Lara. 100%. So exactly what you want to do is you want to make sure that whenever you're reading a job description, there is that section called requirements or hard criteria, things that you need to bring to the table. And that's the section where you will find keywords, such as designing websites or enhancing user experience, whatever. There's going to be some things in that requirement section that you want to take away and put in your CV. And that is sort of like the hygiene factor. So that's the sanity check for the recruiter, for the hiring manager. Whenever they get a CV, what they do is they scan the text. They want to make sure that in the text that they scan, they will find the keywords that are also to be found in the job description. So exactly what Lara mentioned, you want to make sure that you have a tailored CV for every job you're applying to. I hope that makes sense. If there is any question that pops up while I'm still chatting on, just let us know in the chat. Siraj, can we move on? Oh, go on.
Just a note to that, because I'm just talking about my experience, is that in the past, what I used to do as a student, I used to make one CV, one size fits all, and send it out to everybody. It's changed now. And that's what Szonja is kind of talking about. Anyway, I'll go on to the next one.
Yes, please. Hard skills. So what I mean by hard skills is essentially the technical skills that you want to showcase. So you can see that this CV that I brought as an example is absolutely not a 100% correct CV. There are quite a few mistakes that we can point out, and I'll also do that in a minute. But what you can what you can see is that Marcos correctly mentioned the skills such as After Effects, Photoshop, Unity, 3D, Illustrator, and so on. So especially in your line of work, it's super important to display the skills, the technical skills that you have on your resume. Now, what Marcos does is he grades himself, which is a very silly thing to do. So I do not encourage you to do that. Because that's something that will sort of come to life when you are actually on the job, maybe on your portfolio. So I don't need to know that Marcos graded himself a 10 out of 10 on Microsoft Office. Also, don't put Microsoft Office on your CV, please. But what you do wanna mention is, for instance, Adobe Suite or DaVinci, Photoshop, and all those cool and nice tools and softwares, maybe Figma, that you will be using on the job. And I think that's quite straightforward. So we can move on. Bullet points. Okay, this might be my favorite bit. So what you want to be using when you're crafting your experience section on your CV is bullet points. Now, if you look at Marcus's CV, an extremely funny thing is happening, which is the following. He is using bullet points, which we love. However, he is also using full-blown sentences, which we don't like. It's definitely not something that you want to be doing. So Marcus says in the first first bullet point, developed user-friendly design concepts for a new mobile banking app, and then he goes on. We don't want to have that all that information because it's just too much. We don't have the time to scan all that. So what Marcus should have done, he should have stopped here. Developed user-friendly design concepts for a new mobile banking app. Stop. And then the rest of the bullet points, he could tell me about how long it took for him to develop that user-friendly design concept, or what he actually means by developing the user-friendly design concept. Maybe the tools that he used. Maybe there are other things that he can quantify that would be relevant information for me to know as a recruiter or for Siraaj as a hiring manager. Yeah. So yes to bullet points, 100%, but no to full-blown sentences. Only the most relevant bits is what you want to showcase. I think that's all clear. And on we move. Can I have the last one? Now, this is a bonus tip from me. Obviously, as you see, it says motivation letter, no, motivation video. So it's not necessarily something that's going to be on your resume. However, it is something that pairs exceptionally well with your resume and portfolio. So what do you think? What could a motivation video help you with? Why am I even mentioning this? Why motivation video? What's the benefit of that?
I would say a video is way more personal than a letter.
Love that.
Yes,
Thank you very much,
yes,
Yuna.
absolutely.
Anyone else? All right. Then I'll tell you the truth, but no, what Yuna mentioned was absolutely spot on. So imagine that a recruiter, a company gets 30 applicants, not even 100, just 30, 20. Now, out of that 30 applicants, maybe 29 wrote a motivation letter. Okay. And then there is one applicant who took the effort and the time to record a 40, 50-second long motivation video. In that video, they talk about why they do what they do, or why they want to be doing what they want to be doing, and also specifically why they want to be doing that role at the organization. I mean, that video doesn't only let me know that this person is extremely committed, dedicated, eager, and keen to get an interview at least, but also that allows me to see a little bit of their personality. I get a first impression of their communication style and who they are as a person. So 100%, Yuna summed it up very well. The motivation video sort of gives me an insight of who you are as a person. So it allows me to see the person behind the CV. Definitely something that you want to be doing, especially as a creative professional. We love
100%.
it. All right.
Can I just add something to that? And look, you don't need professional photographing equipment and stuff like that. Just take your phone. You've got great phones out there. Get a tripod or get a beanbag, whatever you guys do at photography, and just get a well-lit room. Make sure you're standing maybe in front of a window, maybe something like this, a well-lit room, nice headshot, and then just speak clearly to the camera. You don't need to go crazy with fancy editing stuff. Like Szonja said, the idea, it's a motivation video. So that's it. Yeah. No longer than a minute. That's it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to add to that.
Yeah, and I see a question regarding the video from Lara in the chat. Thank you very much. So what is the best way to share your motivation video? Look, I'd say Google Drive. I have also just directly sent out a motivation video on LinkedIn. That has also happened, but usually if it's a longer video or if it's packed with editing, then it's not going to be small enough to send it out on LinkedIn. So what you want to do is you want to upload it on Google Drive and then make sure that everyone's got access to that link, and then you can just go ahead and distribute that link. Siraaj?
Just to add to that, if you don't have Google Drive, right? Make up a YouTube account. Go make up a YouTube account, put your video on YouTube, and then just send people that link if you're struggling, right? So that is also something you can do if you don't have Google Drive or anything like that. YouTube, put your portfolio on there, put your motivation letter on there. I know you're going to look at that video a million times, and your aunties and uncles and grandmas are going to be like, yo, shame, look at my boy, so big. But just do that. Okay, moving on. Sorry.
Love that. All right, let's move on. Love the emoji, thanks. Let's move on, Siraaj, because I promised that we'll be deep diving into the summary section. So, ladies and gentlemen, and of course everyone in between, this is the moment for you to whip out your phone if you'd like, because you can take a screenshot of the summary section and you can just one-to-one copy paste this into your CV. So let's analyze this. Let's talk about the various parts of it a little bit. First sentence, the opening, says, driven by a passion for enhancing user experiences, I'm on a mission to craft intuitive interfaces that delight users. Okay, showstopper. I mean, I love that already. What it does is the following. It talks about your drive, your motivation. And if you go like, okay, Szonja, but I have no idea what my motivation or what my drive is, what is it that drives me? Grab a pen and paper, and after this webinar, take 15 minutes to think about the question, why did I want to become a UX designer? Or why do I want to work as an illustrator? Or why did I want to study video editing or video producing, whatever? And whatever pops up, jot it down on the paper. That's going to be your motivation. That's going to be your driver. And that is going to be essentially the opening sentence of your summary. Now, also let me know in the chat if something is not clear, if you want me to elaborate on certain things a bit more. Then you move on to the next part of the, sorry, Siraaj, can you go back a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. Then you move on to the next part of the sentence, which is, I'm on a mission to craft intuitive interfaces that delight users. What this does, this really differentiates you from the rest of the UX designers. So maybe another UX designer has the same exact motivation. They are driven by a passion for enhancing user experiences, but the mission bit is your unique approach to UX design. So that is yours. That is yours and yours only. That's your unique take on how you approach, how you go about user experience. So that's the mission bit. It's optional. If you'd like, you can leave this out, but it does make it a lot more powerful. Now we move on, Siraaj. Second sentence in the summary section, just my favorite bit. During my internships, I redesigned mobile app onboarding processes, increasing user engagement by 30%, and revamped website navigation, resulting in a 20% decrease in bounce rate. Now, I appreciate you might go like, okay, a lot of numbers, and I didn't do anything like that, or I don't have anything that I can quantify from my experience. Let's take a minute and let me challenge you on that one, because you have so many amazing things that you can quantify, such as the number of projects that you worked on, or perhaps the timeline of the project that you loved the most and that resonates the most with this job that you're applying for. So what you want to do essentially in this next bit, the second sentence, you want to talk about your impact. That is the value that you are bringing to the table. And I put in between brackets numbers. So if there is anything you can quantify, then quantify it and showcase it here. So highlight one of the key achievements from your past that is the most relevant with the job you're applying for. There you have it. And then we move on to the very last bit, which is all about you. So you as in your personality. It reads, I thrive on collaborative environments where I can sprinkle a dash of creativity and a pinch of mischief into every pixel. I design better than I cook, I promise. Okay, so what's happening here is the following. This person is letting me know how in what sort of environment they thrive. What is the kind of team, the kind of like organizational culture that suits them the most? Because I get the impression that this person is cheeky, a little bit playful, a little bit silly, and also they are unapologetically themselves, which I do love. Now, if seeing this, you go, okay, this is really not like me, I don't want to be doing anything like this, that is totally fine. Then what you can do is you can swap this last sentence to a sentence where you talk about what sort of environment you're looking for.
Good point.
That's it. Keep true to yourself, to who you are. That's always something that I'd like to highlight. Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look at the chat, but I don't see any questions coming in. So yeah, we can move on to Barney. Yes, so my pro tip for you all is the following: ditch the buzzwords. So if you actually read the example CV of Marcos, you saw that he mentioned a lot of buzzwords such as results-driven, detail-oriented, successful track record, whatnot. Yeah, we don't want any of that. We don't want any of that, because then you're going to come across as Barney. So instead of displaying or listing all those buzzwords, what you can do is you can highlight your key achievements, your accomplishments, because those results, they speak for themselves. So if there is one thing and one thing only that you will be remembering from this webinar when it comes to your CV, let it be this one: ditch the buzzwords. And with that, we move on, and I'm going to be handing over the mic to the one and only Siraaj. On you go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Szonja. Can we all just get a clapping emoji for Szonja there? What an insightful presentation there on the resumes. That was cool. I'm feeling the love, Szonja. I'm feeling the love. Getting all the claps. Little jazz hands, jazz hands. They should make a jazz hand emoji. Fire! Do we have any questions for Szonja at this point? We can also have a Q&A session at the end, but is there anything that pops in your head immediately? Now, you can unmute yourself. We love hearing your voice, so you can do that, or just leave a chat. Okay, so let me go on. So hopefully, from what Szonja has shared with you, this should give you the ingredients to make something that people can't ignore. And I look at it, if I saw the CVs coming in as a hiring manager and they had these things that Szonja were talking about, I'm already going, yes, 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 yes. And I'll talk to you guys about what it's like if you're hiring people, what are the things that's going on in your head as a hiring manager. So just to give you a little bit of insights on that. So the first thing I want to introduce everybody to, for those who don't know, I think Irina, I don't know if I say the name correctly, Irina, but you mentioned something about an ATS, and she's absolutely correct. What an ATS is an applicant tracking software. And so if you look at big companies, big organizations, they have maybe a team of recruiters, and to be able to manage and handle all of the applications that come, it's impossible for one human being to do. We have a thing called an applicant tracking software. And so what would happen is that I, as a hiring manager, would see, if we look at the screen over here, what you'll see is a very simple pipeline, right? You've got applied, phone interview, evaluation, and offer. And what happens is the candidates that you like go from one section, one silo to the other. So what you will see over here on this side is there's 4 people who've applied. Okay, Carmen, Matt, Bradley, whatever. Let's just imagine that they are that. Okay, I'm looking at this over here. So the one thing I want to kind of like say is, like, as I'm looking at all of this, right? As I'm looking at all of this. Oh, hang on a second. Here's the 4 portfolios that I bring up in front of me. Now, as a hiring manager, I already have a bias in my head, okay? So I'm going and assist as a process of elimination. Right? I'm not even trying, I'm just trying to see who cuts the mustard and who doesn't, right? From the eye test. So on the eye test, what I'm looking for is relevancy, right? So I'm looking at portfolios like, if I advertise the job for a motion designer, right? And I get video editors in here, I'm gonna be like, no, this is not the kind of person that I'm looking for. Or I am looking for a web designer, and let's say a visual designer comes along. I'd be like, no, is this person relevant? So I'm already trying to eliminate people through process of elimination without even clicking on your portfolio. So just keep that in mind. I'm looking for, so apart from relevancy, I'm also looking for problem-solving abilities. How does this person solve their problems? Huh? Then I also look at their craft, right? Does this person understand, for example, a very good example, color theory? Do they understand typography, the hierarchy of information, how they lay stuff out? Is their shit aligned? You know, like, these are all the things that are going in unconsciously in my head. I haven't even opened up your CV, right? Your portfolio. And then I'm looking for a little bit of an X factor if it's sprinkled around there. So I wanted to ask everybody clear, if you could, like, say you me, for example, yeah? You me, and you're going to get there, right? You me, you're looking at these 4 portfolios. Which of these 4, you have to choose 2, would you go for? Just quick eye test, not reading, just going boom, boom, boom. Who would you go for? I already chose them. I'm curious to see what you all think. Who would it be? Maybe in the chat, can you let me know? Just drop it in the chat. In the Q&A session also, doesn't matter. I just want to see what you guys feel, which one I would choose, or which one resonates with you based on what I just said now.
Yuna mentions C and B. I don't know if you see it in the chat, Siraj.
Yeah, C and D. Okay, that's cool. C and D.
B.
C and B.
B,
Yeah.
B as in Barney.
Ah, yes. Okay, great, great.
Then
Any more?
I see C from Lara.
Yeah.
Irina says C and D.
Yeah. Anybody else? Off your gut feelings. Just want your feelings. All right. Okay. Well, for interest's sake, I think most of you would agree that C should be in there. It's quite interesting, right? I haven't looked at it yet. So when I looked at it, I went, these are the two I would pick up. Now, it doesn't mean that D wouldn't be it. I just thought for the interest of this presentation, I'm just going to focus on two, okay? And because both of these are really, really strong. So I want to just quickly get you through it. I also want to just mention, I know we mentioned UX designers before, and it's not like we're focusing on UX designers, people. It's just that I admire how UX designers put their work together. Let me put it that way. So that's why I thought let me show all of you what that would mean. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to do a side-by-side live comparison between the two on Anya and with Charlene. So if you just give me a minute while I set that up quickly, and then we can go. Yeah. I'm still working with some very primitive equipment here, but this should be okay. So let me just quickly pop that up. Let's put Charlene over there. I'm gonna do it as a tile screen. Boom. How does that look, Szonja? Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm looking at these two portfolios, sorry, right? Both of them look the same, more or less. I mean, but one thing I wanted to kind of like talk to you all about is like the minute I look at this, my first impression is Anya on this side. She seems playful and personal. It's like, okay, this could be someone I think could be quite interesting, right? On the right, when I'm looking at Charlene on hers, it's a little bit more straightforward. It's a little bit more clearer, but both of these really would appeal to me. So if I just go to the one on the left, Anya, as I'm scrolling through a portfolio, I'm like, yo, this is cool. She's got some nice interact. Oh, what a beautiful smile, huh? Who wouldn't want to work with someone who has a smile like that? So I'm like, already I'm feeling the vibes here from Anya. And on top of that, what she just told me is that she's an educator turned designer, building things that contribute to a better, more equitable and pleasant future. Now, if that doesn't sound like somebody that I would want to be interested in meeting, I don't know what is. She told me exactly what her interest is, what drives her, right? This is what Szonja mentioned about that drive. I already know that this is what I'm going to be getting. If I look at Charlene, for example, she's an instructional designer. She's passionate about crafting learning experiences, right? And I love it. Both of them different kind of like websites, or at least different types of websites, portfolios, but I definitely get a sense of who the people are. If I'm going to be scrolling down, what you will start to see is a little bit more of parity between the two. So one thing I can notice immediately about the one on the left is that, oh, she's got some really nice thumbnails. She has in situ pictures. So she's not just like slapping on a screenshot and calling it a day. Don't ever do that, designers, okay? Try to put your work in situ so that people can get a sense of what it would look like. It's just, it doesn't affect anything, but it just gives you that little bit of like, oh, this person cares about extra detail. So again, really some kind of in situ situation, somebody who might be the target audience in the background. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I like that. This is good stuff. I haven't even gone through the work yet. And if I move on to the second one, which is Charlene's one, the portfolio has a lot of white space, but then she has this color blocks, which really draws my eye in. And it's the same with the one on the left. She just uses animation, interactive stuff, elements to really give me a sense of that. So, and then as I scroll down, I see a call to action. You know how many times I've seen portfolios where students just put the work down and don't ask me for anything? That's crazy. You've got my attention. Ask me for something. Like, if you want to talk to me, if you want to have a coffee with me, or if you want to, just need you to give input, ask for something. And that goes for everything in life, people. If you don't ask for anything, no, you're not going to get it. That applies to your career. Ask and you shall receive. You might not receive, but if you don't ask, you don't get. That's always the thing. So as I'm walking down to Charlene's one on the right, I can see lovely thumbnails in situ. The product is in there. I've got a Mac, I think you've got iMac, yeah. And then if I scroll down, you've got all these kind of visuals. So again, very simply, but really nicely designed. As I'm going down, I see, oh, she's got some stuff like fun things. She did some proactive work. I'm like, well, look, this is a creative who I would absolutely love to come and see. And that's what you really want. You just want the person to say yes going through. So if I'm going to click through one of these case studies, let me just click on here. And for this instance, I'm just going to quickly enlarge it. Okay. So what you both will see is that I'm greeted by a super big, very impressive, nicely created visual of the product or the service or whatever, something that kind of like just really sells it for me really quickly, right? I see that there's the elements that I really appreciate is the things like, let me just show it because she does it really well better. There's a timeline, it's a type of project, the tools that she uses, and most importantly, your role. I cannot stress this enough. If you're a student or if you any creator for that matter, right? Anybody can, like, a lot of projects are collaborative, right? You maybe find yourself working in a campaign and you were responsible for creating 5 GIFs or whatever. Now, when I see your project and I see the beautiful after movie and the full project, I'm under no illusion that you didn't do everything. So don't try to pass it off like you are the one doing everything. Just tell me what your role was in this so that I know, okay, because that's something that I can then use to ask you more questions, deeper questions about what was your experiences like? What did you learn from it? If you could do something over, what would you do again? These are the things that I want to do. It's not about trying to really impress everybody that you did everything. Really tell me just what your role is. And so what she did here, as it says, her research, she did UX research, she did design, and she did strategy. Now, that's enough for me, and I'm ready to go down. And then it follows the very simple background, the problem statement, the solution, etc. And what I want us to kind of like think about here is that she gives me the context of what the project was, what the company is. She tells me what she had to solve, and then she takes me through a very detailed step-by-step design thinking process. Yeah, everybody's really interested in what something looks at the end. As a hiring manager, I'm interested to see what your process and your thinking is. Yeah, that's what I want to see. So as I'm scrolling down here, I'm seeing, oh, nicely laid layouts. The information is written for scannability. No prose. We're not writing War and Peace here, people. I'm interested in your prose and your essay. Just give me bite-sized information so that I can just snap what I need to do. Right? I research universities based on needs. I switch between the cards. Okay, great. I'm still skimming. And then if I have something interesting, I'll maybe go in a little bit. And then at the end, she does a very simple final product, a prototype, which, you know, there's a lot of software out there that you can do that can do this easily for you. I think Figma has it as well. I'm not sure if Sketch or any of the other, does InVision still exist? I'm not sure. But you know what I mean? You can actually, you don't need to make this video for me, but this is so nice. You know, it's basically this in a form of video. Let me play it for you. Okay. Nothing different, just screenshots. Right? But again, it tells me, one thing it tells me is like, I could give this person my ideas and ask her to help me execute some of these projects that I have. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. And like I mentioned, and what we also said was the outcomes. So like Szonja also mentioned, you might not know how the campaign did. You might not know anything. And if you're a student, yeah, most chances are you might not even get to this kind of like level. But if you did a project, maybe if you said 5 people showed up or 10 people wrote a testimonial or review, all of those things are quantifiable. If you can quantify it, all the more better. And then finally, they talk about the approach, the way they approach the design. So already I'm thinking, okay, this is someone who is absolutely going to be a beast when I bring her in. Research, all of this stuff. This is all the lekker stuff, all the nice things at the end that you can scroll through. But I promise you, by the time I got to this part here, there's still a lot to go through. I'm already made up my mind. Yes, this is a person that I want to see. I've seen enough. Yeah, I've still got 99 portfolios to go check out. But I've seen enough. Okay. So at the end of all of this, biases aside, I believe for me, this is what it is. So if I just scroll out, okay, I'm going to put this aside. Put this little thing back on again. Oopsie. Let's go back to my presenter view. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Oh wait, there's a question in the chat there. Let me see.
I think I've answered them.
Okay.
Regarding
Thanks,
TV
Sonia.
and yeah, I've answered it. Oh, good. We can move on.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Sonia. Oh, amazing. Okay, so in terms of my pro tips for you as your portfolio, like Sonia mentioned, the idea of curating your CV to the job description, I would also say curate your portfolio to the job that you want. Remember, I talked about relevancy. So if you want to be a motion designer, don't put in your website stuff. Like, listen, I know what you think. I know, because I made that mistake as well. I just put everything in. I just threw everything at the wall and hope that shit would stick. The better way is to have 4 or 5 really, really solid pieces, right? Pieces that you are proud of. Because believe me, that hiring manager is going to ask you, talk to me about your best work, right? This is the one you want to do, right? This is the one you want to show. So show your best work, show the ones, show work that curate your portfolio for the job that you want. That's the best advice that someone gave to me back then. And I still live by it to find the goal of your portfolio, right? Don't do one size fits all. It's not going to work. Okay. You can, but it's not going to work. Understand your audience. And look, I know what I mean. It's like, if I want to let's say, for example, you want a job as a visual designer, and you're a student and you're looking for input, right? A lot of the times when we were growing up, what we used to do as kids in school was we used to sit like this, your arm next to your head, and the book is here so that you don't show anybody what you're busy working on. Those days are over. Okay. The days of, like, you can show your work, you can take your portfolio to your mom and your auntie and your uncles, and they will tell you what a great job you did. You are so talented, my girl, my boy, you are amazing. Well, you should not be interested to hear what your mom and your uncles and your aunties have to say about your work. Take your work to people who work in the role that you want. Okay? So that means being brave and being vulnerable and being prepared to say, like, this person could really tear me a new one. But most of the times, I'm talking about 98% of the times, creatives are really, especially senior creatives, are really there to help. They really are interested. So if you go to them and you hit them up on LinkedIn, or you talk to them, you just say to them, hey, you are an art director or a motion designer. I'm thinking of becoming an art director. Here is my portfolio. Tell me where I could improve. Tell me what's wrong with it. A lot of the times we go in, we want validation. We want people to tell us what's good about ourselves, what's great. Huh? That can be your social media followers. Like I said, that can be your auntie, your uncles. They're there for that. But if you want absolute solid career advice and good advice from someone who's working in the industry, take your portfolio there and be prepared to rework it. Okay? I promise you, if you take that as a value, as a principle in your career, you are going to go far. Believe me. Show your skills. People think that I only need to show my skills when I'm actually into interview. As I mentioned to you before, I'm coming in with a lot of biases. So show your communication skills, show your thinking processes, and show your craft. Like I showed you all before, your communication skills. So are you able to articulate what drives you? Are you able to articulate how you solve the problem? Yeah. And I do appreciate not everybody's English is not everybody's first language, but if you are struggling with that, take it to someone who's good at a language. Talk it to someone, like if you wanna do apply for a job in Brazil, for example, then get a Portuguese a Portuguese person to actually look at your copy and your spelling. Just take it in there. And then I think thinking processes, like I mentioned in Charlene's portfolio, she took me through all of it. And on top of that, her craft was excellent. Yeah. So those three things you are going to go for. And then I just want to quickly just touch on the whole portfolio structure, right? I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through it a little bit as quickly, maybe a little bit faster, but I've got two kind of like structures that we spoke about, right? So it's the landing page and the case study, right? That's the only thing I'm interested in, to be honest with you. So what I'm looking for on a landing page is a nice key visual, right? A nice visual with a headshot. I want to see your face if I can, right? I will. And then a personal branding statement, like the two examples they did. Then a case study, 4 case studies or whatever, and each case study, an eye-catching thumbnail, and an in-situ visual or mock-up for each one to draw me in. And then finally, a call to action. What do you want me to do? It's very, very simple, people. Take a picture of this or whatever. I'm also going to be putting it on my LinkedIn. So if you guys are going to connect with us later, you can also download it over there. So if you just want to watch it, but this is the minimum that we expect. Okay. And the same with the case study, the structure of the portfolio. Again, so as I'm clicking on that thumbnail, I want to see a nice key visual, nicely crafted with a snapshot of the project. You've all seen it before. Then the background, scope, and your role, like we mentioned before. So give me the context, give me the target audience and your role of the project. And then set up the problem. Why does this project need to happen? What is the pain point of the person? And so that then leads into what your solution is going to be. And here you give a step-by-step breakdown of what you did and how you did it. And I mean, include sketches, include interviews that you did, include dead ends, creative dead ends that you might have gone through. Look, these are all kind of things that you can kind of like to help me understand how you get from point A to point B, from problem to solution. And then finally, the results. Like I said, not all of you are going to have results, but I think if you can, even if it is, it was a fake project that I did, but the response I got from these people were great. Even if you put in a testimonial or someone's response to it, that's also a result. It qualifies it. Just qualify. That's it. So I hope for everybody, let me just go back there. I hope for everybody that gives everyone at least some idea of how to maybe just up their portfolio games. Like I said, you could go into this topic for hours and hours, but I think because we only have an hour and a bit, I wanted to keep it as condensed as we possibly can. So you've got the resume that counts for you. You've got a couple of good pro tips in terms of how to up your portfolio game. I'm going to hand over the presentation to Szonja now, and she's going to just talk to you about one last thing that you guys need to do. Hit it away, Szonja.
Fabulous. Can I please get a fire and a thumbs up and an applause emoji for the one and only Siraaj? Yes. Coming in. Fantastic. Thanks, Siraaj. That was super helpful. So indeed, I just want to pop back in for a minute to share one last tip video. This is a game changer. This has been a game changer for me back then when I was applying for jobs left and right, and it has been a game changer for all those candidates who did this that I hired when I was a recruiter, which is the following: connect and follow up. So what I mean by that is essentially that whenever you're sending your applications, what you want to do is you want to follow up. You want to go on LinkedIn, do a quick research on the company's the company's LinkedIn page, and you want to connect with the hiring manager and with the recruiter. Now, how can you find the hiring manager? Most likely, the person is going to have the title of creative manager, head of creative director at the company. So you can go ahead and connect with them. How are you going to find the recruiter? Now, in most companies, there are multiple recruiters working. So obviously, unless the recruiter is sort of like promoting that very vacancy on their personal LinkedIn site, you will not be able to tell which recruiter is responsible for the job that you're applying for. But feel free to connect with all the recruiters that you can find at the company. After connecting with them, feel free to message them and express your enthusiasm and eagerness about the role that you have applied for. Recruiters love this shit. Believe me, it's one very important aspect of their job, to network, to expand their network. So this is me encouraging you to go on LinkedIn and connect with the recruiter and connect with the hiring manager, and also to follow up if you have been interviewed by any of them. Send a message on LinkedIn or send an email to them to express your motivation and interest. This is a game changer. This is an absolute game changer. So do that. And with that, I think, Siraaj, I'm again handing the mic back to you.
Thank you so much, Szonja. Absolutely. I know. It just like Szonja said. So let me go on to the next one. So we are at the final straight, the third act of the movie, right? The takeaways. These are the things that I want you, from everything that I want you guys to remember from this presentation. I've put a couple of takeaways for you guys all there, right? Let's get mine. Interactive. You didn't expect that. Tell me you didn't expect that. A crossword puzzle on a Thursday morning. Nobody expected that. Well, so in terms of the takeaways, right? What Szonja mentioned, what is the first word that you've got to do in terms of your CV, right? Is anybody? Can anybody give me? The word that we're looking for here? Can anybody give me the word in the chat?
What are we looking for here?
What are the words we're looking for? The first
A
word.
little bit of help. I was summary. Yes. Woohoo! Fantastic. Thank you, Yuna and Lara.
Excellent. What's the second one?
Love it.
What should you avoid at all cost?
The
In
one that turns
the
CV.
resume. What should you avoid at all costs in your resume?
Buzzwords, Jamie.
Yes. This chat is on
Amazing.
fire. Love it. Okay. Gets difficult, okay? We're moving up levels here. Now if we're going to your portfolio, what should you do for your portfolio? Can I get it? If you want to apply for a job, what is that second word? Oh, I've already done it.
That's great.
You know what? That's the universe just sharing the love. You know, you don't even need to answer that. But you know what? I appreciate it. What's the second one? What should you do? Not ask your aunties or your moms or whatever. What should you do? What should you ask from other people in a similar role that you want? What should you do? What is that? Is this one over here? What should you ask? What should you get?
Yes, input. Love it.
Lara knew us. You get 1 billion points for that. Yeah, and Nukubonga, everybody gets 1 billion points. Everybody gets 1 billion points for that. Well done. What a great thing. Okay, what's the one thing that me as a hiring manager is looking for from a creative when they're putting work in their portfolio, if they're coming up with a solution for 1 billion points? What is that? Oh, what's the skill?
Process. Lara says process.
Lara. Like Lara's going to be the winner here. There's no prizes today. Everybody's a winner. And it is the process. And then finally, what Szonja just spoke about it a minute ago. What does reaching out and getting up with recruiters, what does that do? What does that create in their minds?
Generates trust. Jamie, damn.
You get 5 billion points for the N1. So amazing.
You've been absolutely amazing. What an audience. Jeez.
Listen. Can you give yourselves a hand? Give yourselves a hand.
I'm going to go ahead and applaud you.
It's been an hour. People have been saying that, Gen Zers, they don't have attention span or anything like that. You just proved them wrong today. 1 hour. I'm super impressed. Come on, give it up one for yourself. Let's go. We're in the final stretch. Our bit is done. The only bit we've got now to do is, if you do want to connect with us or whatever, or if you're looking for, we've got some resources that we've got in terms of, things that you need, for example, from on my LinkedIn. So if you just scan that photo, I don't know if you can scan that photo over there. I've got links on, if you wanted to build a portfolio and you don't have money to make a portfolio, you can go to Webflow. If you're a student, it's free. You don't have to pay nada on it. So go to my LinkedIn. You find a list of resources in terms of what you can do if you wanted to build a portfolio, and you don't even need a lot of money for that, people. So no excuses. I do not want to see another PDF from any creative who's joined this webinar. Okay, ditch that PDF. Ain't nobody got time for PDFs. You've got the ability to make a website. Sonia, take it away. Tell them what people can get on your LinkedIn.
Yes, peeps, this is definitely the time for you to whip out your phone and scan those QR codes, because, as I also dropped it in the chat previously, if you connect with us on LinkedIn and if you send us a DM saying, hi, I've attended the webinar, I would love to get the resources from you. Besides those super helpful things that Siraaj just mentioned, I can also share with you a guide on how to develop a killer LinkedIn, which is amazing. Then there is another guide I put together on how to network efficiently and effectively on LinkedIn, also available for you to download, absolutely gratis, and that's for free. And tomorrow I'll be publishing my fresh, crisp, still hot guide on how to develop your iconic personal brand. So if you remember, Siraaj a minute ago was talking about that personal branding statement. If that made you dizzy in the head, and if you went like, I have no idea how to develop a personal branding statement, worry not, mate, because my new guide will tell you just that. So these are all resources that you can get from the two of us for absolutely free.
Nada, nix, zilch, nothing. So with that being said, the last thing, look, we like to give, right? We like to give. The only thing we can ask, and if you have the time, part of what we're doing with these webinars is we also want to get a sense of like how you guys respond to it. What are some of the things that you guys are struggling with, right? And that's why we asked that question right in the beginning. What are some of the things that what are the things that some of you are struggling with? So that hopefully myself and Szonja can continue to do these things, whether it's a webinar or podcast or whatever, or in whatever kind of format. This really would super help us if anybody can answer this one mandatory question. 3 questions in total. So we would love to get your feedback and your insight to let us know how we can make this presentation better, and what are some of the topics that you're worried about. Maybe we can do something about that.
Yeah, it only takes 20 seconds tops if you want to be super generous and answer all 3 questions. But if you're like, nah, I'm short on time and also I'm hungry, I want to grab my lunch, then just take 5 seconds to answer the very first one, and then that's already super helpful.
So we're here. Q&A.
Q&A. All right. So for those of you who are still with us, thank you so much. We've still got 24 people with us, and there were some absolutely brilliant questions coming in the chat during the presentation. So Siraaj, is it okay if I'm going to go ahead and just throw the question at you?
Yeah.
So I got a question. Besides LinkedIn, are there any other ways to look for jobs? Now, I gave my 2 cents for this question, but what do you think from a creative perspective? Is there other way to get a job?
Well, look, LinkedIn, of course, Glassdoor, Indeed. I don't know if you have Indeed in South Africa or anything like that. You also have Monster.co, that's monster.com, where you can go. I'm not sure what the platforms are in specific countries, but those are the ones I'm kind of like talking about. Yeah, those will be the places that I would be shopping around for creatives in any case. And then of course, going to networking events, expos. That's another great way where industries are at, where you can go and meet people. Yeah, I hope that answers it.
100%. And I also answered this question myself in the chat as well. I just want to highlight what I said over there. LinkedIn, yes, it's a job board, but it's so much more than just a job board. I mean, that is the platform of all the professionals in the world. So make use of LinkedIn and network, because yeah, maybe there is no job available at a company right now. You network, and then maybe in 2 weeks' time, through your network, there's going to come in a message for you to apply for that role. So networking is very important. Yeah,
It is
cool.
still-
Another question. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
Another question was, let me see. Yeah, I can't find a question right now, but essentially, like, if you don't have any experience, what should you put on your CV, portfolio, and all that? Yeah.
Good question. I'll take this one.
When you do, okay.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I don't know from who it was. A very good question. One thing I would really appreciate, if you don't have any experience, whatever, go to a couple of companies that you want to work for. And this is what I talk about, having intent behind your applications, not just going for a scattergun approach, right? I would target 5 agencies, and then I would look at what clients they have, and I would come up with a proactive idea for that client, right? And the thing is, like, what you could do is you could go, a trick that I would do is I would say, okay, I really like car brands. So what agencies have car brands? And so what I would do is I would do one project for a car, right? And then I would just swap the logo over depending on what agency I'm talking about. But the most important thing I want to share with you is that choose a company, choose a client that they've got, and do something for them. Even if it's a 5-minute presentation, even if it's some social gifts that you're doing, or you're creating a story for them. It tells me, even though you don't have the experience, it tells me that you are interested in helping me. So many times, a lot of people think about themselves in this whole process, right? Remember what I talked about when I talked about think about your audience. So if I have a creative or I have a student that just talks about what they want, I'm not going to be interested. But if you're coming and saying, hey, if I join your company, I wouldn't want to help you like this. I can do this for you guys. I can do that. That tells me, okay, this is somebody that I want to be. They're talking about how they can help my pain points as a hiring manager. So if you are coming up with some ideas that you proactively did, you don't have to come up with a massive campaign. Just do like a couple of shots. That already tells me this person is really interesting. I want to see them. Remember, you just want to put your foot in the door, and that's a sure, direct way. Being proactive and taking the initiative is a sure way for you to get into that door. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe just to add to that, what you can also do through LinkedIn, you can find entrepreneurs. Usually entrepreneurs don't have a very good website. So if you're in a line of work that has something to do with website development, design, UX, all that jazz, what you can do is you can get in touch with these entrepreneurs, companies, smaller companies, and be like, hey, I am trying to gather some experience, and what I can offer is my expertise. I can pimp up your website for free. And there you have a side hustle, there you have a voluntary project, basically. That's something that you can certainly showcase on your resume, on your portfolio. Plus, you get to work with clients as well. So yeah, proactivity is the key here.
I've got one more question, and then maybe there's a live question here. This one is from Laura in Nieuwenhuis. Do you have best practices, ethical considerations for sharing details about projects that you collaborated with on with people or did for a client company? It's a very good question. Now, there's 2 ways you can go about it, right? I always find the minute you say this, you pick up the phone. Hi, my name is Siraaj, and I am a student. The minute you say that word student in your pitch, automatically the barriers kind of like break down, right? You're not a competitor. You're not someone from another agency. You are just a student looking. And when I was in my student years, that's how I used to get people to do stuff for me. Hey, I need 500 boxes. I'm a student and I need 500 empty boxes to do this. Okay, sure, right? It's a magical, magical word, that word student. It opens up doors, so please use it, right? The other one, if you're a little bit more maverick, don't ask for forgiveness. Sorry, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. A lot of the times we're sitting here thinking, hey, we need to get permission. Like, just do it, right? And worry about the lawyers afterwards. Chances are 99% of the times no one's even going to know you did it, right? But if you do want information from them specifically, you need that insight, then I would say use the approach of, I'm a student, I worked on this project with you guys, would you have some details? Would you be okay if I shared this and that? 100% they'll be okay with it. But if you don't have that, if you're not a student, just don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. But you didn't hear that here on this time, okay? I didn't say that. Anyways, are there any more questions? Anybody else? Maybe I missed another question here in the chats.
I don't see any more. But yeah, maybe something has just popped up for someone. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I saw somebody mention something about the MK visas and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's maybe something I can talk about because I have experience, obviously, as someone who comes from South Africa and worked in the UAE and in Europe. And I think that's a very difficult question, especially when you're starting out your career, right? If you don't have ancestral kind of like an ancestral connection to the country, it becomes really, really challenging and difficult. And I think it only becomes easier when you get to a more experienced kind of like level, because that's when the skills become a little bit more difficult to get hold of. So then companies are more open to going outside of their borders, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't work for international companies. There are so many companies today that hire remotely. Take, for example, one company called Superside, right? I've worked with them before. They hire people from all over the world. And what that really does, it really puts your resume and say, I've got international experience. So if I was you, I would look for these companies like Superside, the subscription-based design companies that could really put that in your portfolio. Some of you, the one benefit of, let's say you're in South Africa, whatever, is working in Europe, is there are companies in Europe who are looking for talent outside of their company. So they are going to reach out to you over there. So that's a great way to get in there. I would also kind of advise you, if you are looking to move over here, learning the language is, Szonja, even though we speak English in Amsterdam in the agencies there, the discourse more often than not happens in the local language that's kind of like happening. So you would need to understand. So when I came here, I had Afrikaans, but I needed to learn Dutch. So if you're going to move to Spain, you want to go work in Barcelona, go learn Spanish, even just for something interesting. If you want to go work in Berlin, learn German. If you want to work in Amsterdam or in Rotterdam or in the Netherlands, go learn Dutch. It doesn't take anything away from you. The only thing it shows me as a hiring manager, if you are overseas and you can speak in the language that I'm already conversing in, it already means that's one barrier I don't have to worry about. So I hope that gives you all an idea. It's not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong, but do that. Learn the language. Try to work with people who are already doing remote work. I think you're going to be on your way. Yeah.
I think we're good to wrap up. At least I don't see any further questions coming in. Last chance to pop in your questions, but of course you can also send us your queries on LinkedIn.
We're here for you guys. Yeah.
We're here
All right.
for you.
So the only thing I gotta say to you all, good luck.